Hello. Okay, welcome everybody over here on Instagram. I'm so glad you are here today. I'm trying to get Isabel.
I'm here.
There we go.
That was
Yay!
quick.
It
Hi.
was. We are talking all about raw coated kibble today because it's a thing. It's a big thing. It's a marketing
It's a
thing.
new thing,
Yeah.
and it's
Fine.
gonna be a big
It's
thing. I
gonna.
have no doubt. Yeah,
I know.
it's gonna be
So,
a big.
just to jumpstart us, a holistic veterinarian went to global. If you're not familiar with global, that's okay. You probably shouldn't be. It is a huge show
A
for people.
global show,
A
if you will.
global show, yes. For it's not just for pet food manufacturers, but anybody manufacturing products for the pet food space. And it's kind of a way to get in front of distributors and people who sell pet supplies and products. And Super Zoo is a similar type show, but a very different vibe. So if you've heard us talk about Super Zoo before, it's like Super Zoo, but it's on a global scale. So it is very much bringing in products from around the world, trying to bring them into US markets. So anyway, she was at Global, which was last month, I believe,
Yep.
or yeah, March.
First weekend of
And
March, I think.
yes, so we kind of every year, one of the reasons that we love to go to these trade shows so much is seeing like emerging trends in marketing, in new products, in innovation, in products that are coming to the market. And what she noticed and she posted about was this like huge surge of marketing jargon and companies that are doing raw coated kibble, and I know I'm doing my little quote fingers. Not that that's not a thing, it is a real thing, but hello and hello. Thank you all so much for joining us, by the way, because
Yes.
this is a very important topic, and Isabel and I were just talking before we hit live that it is even more confusing for pet parents than we originally thought going into this. Why is that, Isabel?
Well, actually, when I first heard of this, and again, it was because of that post from a holistic veterinarian who presented it as this is some BS, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, this I've never even heard of this, first of all. And second of all, sounds like a lot of marketing BS, right?
Yeah.
Like it sounds like yet another way to confuse pet parents
Yeah.
and give us yet another option that is not a good option. But here we are, like having to choose yet another from another immense
Yeah.
list of pet food options. Okay. So that's my first impression. So I shared it. And obviously on my Facebook, I have a ton of professional pet sitters, dog trainers, nutritionists, all the pet people that I know in life, in real life and not in real life. And everybody was commenting from the pet space. I didn't have any just like lay pet
Yeah.
parents, not involved in the industry comment, but everybody,
Civilians.
everybody, exactly, no civilians. Everybody who commented was like, BS, BS, BS. Okay, so that's when I tagged you and I was like, let's discuss this because I'm just getting, I'm just getting my toes wet here. Like I have no idea what this really entails. I've obviously done research since,
Yeah.
but I was really surprised to see the brands that are offering this. Because initially my gut was this must be like super mainstream. And not that these aren't mainstream, but they're supposed to be more holistic brands, the ones that are offering this, than I expected, right? So I expected it to be big bucks owned by Mars or Nestle doing this. And, obviously a bunch of PR people and marketers sitting around being like, how can we make kibble look better? Let's coat it with raw. Like,
Yeah.
so
Right.
that's the impression that I got. But actually, in my research, I found that some brands that we at some point thought of as holistic, better options Stella and Chewy's, Open Farm. I mean, Merrick is pretty mainstream.
Yeah.
Instinct. Those are offering raw coated kibble.
Yeah.
So I was kind of surprised. And obviously, AI's everywhere. So I asked AI about, you know, what it is. Just not even like the benefits or like the pros and cons, just what is it? And AI gave me three benefits that I want, because I have you as a pet nutritionist here. I want you to tell me if this actually adds up to you. Like if these three benefits that I got from AI, from Gemini,
Yes.
will
Hang on before you
stand
say
up to
that.
the
Before you
test.
ask, first of all, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Lori Kozier with Healthy Dog Workshop. And she says, I think it was Nature's Logic who used to spray the kibble with pork plasma, which is so interesting because that is, I mean, in the realm, right, of adding something really wonderful to a not so great food.
Right. So I know of porcine plasma being used in like WinPro Pet, and
Mm-hmm.
they spray dry it, and then they make it into a
Make it,
powder, which the powder is then used to make the actual chew.
yeah,
So the spraying of kibble with like some kind of moist, I guess, some kind of liquid, which is what one would expect, right? Like that the kibble is a dry piece of kibble and it's being sprayed with something that sticks to the kibble's exterior, like an M&M,
yeah, 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 yeah,
right? Like a peanut M&M, basically, is what I'm imagining. So the kibble is the peanut in the M&M, and then it's spray coated with this raw mixture that which then dries,
yeah.
right? Like which then dries onto the kibble.
Yeah, and I do, before we like really dive in, I just want to say that first of all, these are my opinions. Anything I say today, anything you say, these are our opinions. And I do overall see it as a good thing in that if we can take people that are feeding kibble and throw something in front of them that says raw, that says this is better for your pet, like it's a step in the right direction. So like even though whatever we say today may sound like no, this is all a bunch of marketing, blah blah blah. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Let's see how
Yeah.
today goes. Um, Overall, I think it can be a good thing in that we're getting in front of more pet parents that are feeding kibble
Yes.
and saying, look at this, we're adding raw because there are so many benefits, and look at all of these benefits. And then people are going to start thinking, oh, look at all of these benefits, and like start thinking down the path of feeding their
Yes.
pets a healthier diet.
Well, and also that means that the industry is listening to those that are asking for more raw options, right? Because if a
Yes.
marketing team is sitting around being like, we need to come up with a way to make kibble and raw like marry
Right.
safely, happily, where vets will accept it,
Yeah.
then it means that
Right.
the industry is going in the direction of fresh
Mm-hmm.
food and that the consumer's asking for it. So for sure,
Yes.
there has been a change because 20 years ago, the idea of raw anything was not as acceptable or as praised or as, socially like demanded. Consumers are demanding options that maybe don't fit their budgets, unfortunately, but they want to learn more. So,
Yes.
like, I think that that is really a symptom of some kind of progress.
Mm-hmm.
Which, so I agree with you. Both, it's a symptom of progress, and it's going to reach additional pet parents that haven't really learned it yet.
Yeah.
So yes, so Healthy Dog Workshop. Of course, conventional kibble is also sprayed with synthetic palatin, such as cadaverine and putrescine.
Yeah.
It's key to remember if anything is sprayed on, it contains fat and it will be rancid in 2 weeks with
Yeah.
exposure to, yeah,
Yes. And
that's
that's
really interesting.
part of the part of why kibble is inherently so inflammatory because of the processing and also because any fats that are cooked, any fats that are exposed to air for an extended period of time do go rancid.
Yes. And that's
Um,
why you shouldn't buy the huge 40-pound bag
yes.
of kibble for one dog. And whatever the smallest bag you can get, keep whatever you're not using in the fridge or freezer,
Hmm.
ideally freezer, right? Because it'll keep
Yes.
it more
And
stable
I do want
than just
to
being out.
I do want to just say while Dr. Kosher is on, and hello, Gussie's gut. I want to say that I did hear about Healthy Dog Workshop rescheduling this year, and I hope everything is okay, and I hope you're okay. And I have been thinking about you just in case, just throwing that out there. Um, so yeah, okay. So you were going to talk about brands
Well, the
because you were
brands, I
surprised.
did say the brands are Stella and Chewy's,
Yeah.
Merrick, Open Farm, and Instinct. Those are a few of the brands I found that are currently offering raw coated kibble. And then the benefits that AI found, obviously from the marketing that it finds online,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like AI
yeah.
is going to just give me a summary of what's out there. So apparently, what is being touted as benefits include a boost of protein and fat content. So we just talked about the fat. So yes, we're probably spraying it um, with fat and apparently protein. So yeah.
Yeah. So it's a so if it's raw coated, in my mind, from what I've seen, it looks like a freeze dried raw
Yes.
that they're using. Um, my biggest concern is with is not with the coating that they're using. Um, though I mean there could be I mean every freeze dried food I've ever purchased has some sort of like desiccant in the bag to protect it, and I have never seen that. And granted, I have not purchased a bag of raw coated kibble, so I don't know if they come with something like that. But I would say I would
It's a
think
good
not.
question.
So there are going to be concerns with freshness, with how that product is being stored and transported. That's where my mind goes, and but more so to the fact that even though we're adding this freeze dried raw, I want to like, what is the quality? First of all, of this freeze dried raw, that's concerning to me, but also it doesn't overshadow the kibble. So that's where my mind goes, and we can talk more about that in a little while. But I know you have some other.
Well, Healthy Dog Workshop. FYI, it appears Open Farm has taken on venture capital or other
Mm,
funding and uses fish meal, which is not humanely raised as they claim their ingredients are. So, like you said, what's the quality of what they're using? What protein are they using? Is it humanely raised? Is
yeah,
it really, does it fit, does it follow our values, like as consumers?
right.
Maybe not. So that's something that we always have to think about when we are buying pet food. Um, I did see, for example, Stella and Chewy's has a formula that has freeze dried bits in it. So it's kibble and bits in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that it has the
Kibbles and
freeze dried,
bits.
the little, yeah, the little, I think they call it kibble and bits, but I don't know how that worked out.
Yeah,
It's kibble, the
yeah.
raw coated kibble with very a very small percentage
Mm.
of the bag being chunks of freeze dried protein, whatever it is that
I
they
feel
have.
like I've seen Instinct do that too, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
So
But yeah, I've seen
what
that too.
what that brings up to me is you had said a while back that you are concerned when there are veterinarians and nutritionists saying just add fresh food to the bowl or mix like, freeze dried with kibble, but you are worried that potentially with the synthetic vitamins, we're not really optimizing the food doing that. So what is your take if we're doing kibble coated with raw compounds
Yeah.
and
Well,
then
that's
adding the freeze dried and like the body's just like getting so many things from so many places.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? Like I never want to discourage pet parents from adding fresh food to the bowl because there's benefit, and regardless of like when we get to that point, like when like I don't think that it would take a lot for any potential like negative effects to outweigh the positive effects. And a lot of that comes from two places. One, there's people talk a lot about, the different like rates of digestibility
Yeah.
and things like that. And there is a difference in the rates of digestibility. That doesn't mean your dog can't handle
Right.
it, but there is a difference. And then the synthetics. So, like, if we're looking at the ingredient panel on the bag, I'm hoping that they're breaking out the ingredients of that raw whatever versus the freeze dried raw. So if they're doing like the bits and pieces of the freeze dried raw alongside the kibble pieces, I'm hoping they're breaking those ingredient panels out so we can see the actual ingredients of each piece and be able to differentiate. If it's an actual coating, I don't know that they would differentiate. I don't know.
Yeah.
They might not, because
No,
it's
it's just an
still one
ingredient.
single piece.
Exactly. It's an
They
ingredient
may
of
not
that
be
kibble.
breaking it out. So even with that freeze dried raw piece, there could be a lot of synthetics in there. I don't know. And that's where we kind of get into the weeds with synthetic ingredients in pet foods. And like, I get it, it makes the product so much cheaper
Yeah.
to make,
Yes.
which makes it more available to more people to be able to feed their pets. So I don't,
Yeah.
again, want to 100% demonize it. Like, there are places for it. It may
Yes.
not be ideal for somebody like me or somebody like you,
Right.
right? But there are, and by the way, thank you so much, Apple the Golden. Remind me of your name, please. I am terrible with like human names. I will remember your pet's name until the day I die, but your name, I'm sorry.
I I I know we all met at Super Soup, but I don't
Yeah,
remember your name
I
either.
know. I feel terrible about it
That's
too.
why I
Apple's
always
mom.
use exact Apple's mom. I always use everybody's Instagram handles if you
Yeah,
notice because I don't want to get it wrong. And
yeah,
like I could have like a little brain fart and then be like that's not their name and I don't want to
right.
put it out there. So
I know.
um
I know.
I really appreciate Apple the Golden's question though. What is
Yeah.
freeze dried raw? To me, once a food is freeze dried, it is no longer raw. I'm gonna let that the nutritionist answer that question.
Well, and here's the thing. So I had a podcast with Billy from Green Juju not too long ago, and we were talking about just this thing because there's not really a standard
Right.
in pet food manufacturing for the freeze drying process. And there isn't a standard in pet food manufacturing for certain processes, kill steps like HPP. So it's hard to say because I don't know what each individual company is doing.
Right. Realistically, though, when you do something like, I'm going to use a kind of a different product, breast milk can be freeze dried for like 25 years. And because it has not gotten any heat, the probiotics, the enzymes, all of that is still pretty well preserved. So the freeze dry, obviously we're not cooking the breast milk, we're freeze drying it. It's now shelf
Yeah.
stable. It's very positive. Like in the breastfeeding world, it's a super positive thing. It's obviously very expensive to get any kind of freeze dryer to a mom,
Yeah.
but it would be ideal if we could do that because think about how many people we could help with freeze dried breast milk, the most
Right.
natural type of baby food available. So there's no heat involved, so it's still considered raw,
Right.
but it's freeze dried, right? Like it's
Right.
still raw. Nobody's
Right.
cooked it. It has not undergone any kind of necessarily changes other than the freeze drying process. So for me, I would say if it's still like you still have to wash your hands after
Yeah.
handling this chicken heart, then chances are it's still kind of sort of like a raw piece of meat, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not gooey, which is why I love freeze dried, because I don't want to touch chicken hearts that are like right out of the packaging from the grocery store. But I have no
What?
problem
What's wrong with
holding.
you?
It's so disgusting. But I have no problem holding one of Bear's Bites,
Yeah.
chicken hearts and giving it to my dog. But no matter which one I'm handling, I'm gonna wash my hands immediately thereafter, because
Yes.
none of them have undergone anything that would kill all of the bacteria, which is
Yeah.
the same thing I tell my kids. Like, if you touch the dog's bowls, you wash your hands. If you touch the kibble, you wash your hands, because no
Hmm.
matter what, there's bacteria everywhere. But I feel like, for me, the difference between raw food and freeze dried food, I'm still thinking it's equal in the sense of
Oh,
bacteria presence.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
You
no, I
should
know. That's exactly what
wash
I
your
was
hands
saying. Yeah.
after handling kibble. Even though it has been high heat processed, there are so many more instances
Yes.
per pound of kibble with salmonella than even in raw food.
Yes. Well, and
So,
and it's kind of like handling your own food. Like, you're not
yeah,
cooking chicken and then, like, going to get the phone,
right.
right? Like, it's the same thing. So for me, it's everything that's food needs your hands need to be washed, but
Yeah,
from my perspective, it's almost like the same. Like, to
yeah,
me, when I'm
yeah,
handling a raw chicken heart versus a freeze-dried chicken heart. So that's the
yeah.
only thing I would say, is that I do think that freeze drying maintains a lot of the benefits without bringing it to a heat,
Hmm.
to a heating where it actually starts to degrade a lot of the nutrients, because you're heating them out. Like, probiotics they can't stand heat. So
Yeah,
now that's it. Like, that, the food, the milk, whatever it is that you're talking about, it's the probiotics are dead.
right. Yeah. So it really comes down to the amount of freeze dried raw, if that's what it is, in the package of the food that you're buying. Because from what I've seen, it is so minimal that I don't know why you would pay the extra money for
Oh
it.
yeah, the Stella and Chewy's looked like it was like, think if you bought like a box of Lucky Charms and ended up with two marshmallows. Like,
Yeah,
that's basically what it looked like to
right,
me. Like, that's the visualization I had. It was like, this is like not this is just doesn't look like enough to probably pay a
right,
certain, like, a premium, because
right.
that anything that has raw freeze dried on it is going to be more expensive.
Yes, absolutely. So to me, it is a lot of marketing, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, like I was saying, because the more like I'm hoping that this is really a double-edged sword for a lot of these companies, and it is just putting this thought in people's minds who may not otherwise have had this thought right now that raw,
Yes.
whether it's actual raw or the word
Yeah.
raw in their mind, is more beneficial to their pet's health. And that's why these companies are toting it,
Yeah.
right? Like
We're using the word raw because that's
how they do.
the
Yeah.
that's the term, that's the trend.
Yeah.
But really, it's more about freshness, right? It's really more
Mm-hmm.
about a little bit more quality. It's about
Yeah.
premium products. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily about the word raw so much as it is the the desire to preserve the essential nutrients that, we all know, the more processed the food is, the less healthy it is. Like, we
Yeah.
know this for ourselves, we know this
Yeah.
for our pets. So in using the word raw, it immediately makes us think not processed,
Right.
right?
Right.
It's just as the world, as the earth, Mother Nature gave it to us, which is not necessarily the case if
No.
it is freeze dried or whatever other, um, method it undergoes before it hits the consumer. But it is supposed to preserve the essential nutrients. And so when we don't know what's being used to coat the kibble exactly,
Right.
because, like, if they're not breaking up the ingredients, then how do we know what nutrients are even in there to begin with? So
Right.
when AI tells me that this is beneficial because it preserves essential nutrients, what is your response to that?
How do we know? Like
Based
if
on what? Yeah.
yeah, like if you took and just bought a freeze dried food product, so a raw, freeze-dried raw food product for your pet and took your bag of kibble and mixed them, I feel like you'd get better, potentially get better
Yeah,
results
that's
because
what
at
I
least you
do.
know
Yes.
what that is that you're adding to
Yes.
your kibble
That's
and you
exactly what
can
we do.
feel confident that that freeze-dried raw is a high quality food that is um, the actual types of food you're looking to add and not just a bunch more synthetics.
Right.
The quality of the protein, you can be more confident about
Mm-hmm.
what you're buying and what you're paying that price tag for because
Yes.
freeze drying is
No,
not cheap. It
no, a
is
freeze
the
dryer is like
most,
what,
yeah,
$2,500 for a small freeze dryer for a commercial when you're looking at thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars. So for a freeze dryer commercially, I don't even know. I mean, if Sam's around, she can tell us what they go for.
yeah,
But they're so incredibly expensive. It's one of the reasons why freeze drying breast milk isn't attainable
right,
for the vast
right,
majority of people, even
yeah.
though it would be fantastic.
So
Um,
yeah, I was gonna look at Apple. Apple's mom. I still need to know your name. Apple's mom. Some therapy dog groups don't allow raw-fed dogs. Yes, I've heard that a lot. The lines have definitely become blurred with freeze-dried being called raw and there being raw coated kibble.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah,
because of the bacteria and like potential exposure to people in hospitals and stuff. So that makes sense, but it's actually based on flawed science. So like
yes,
it doesn't raw feeding does not make your pet any more likely to infect somebody or get anybody sick than kibble does. Like that's old, I guess
yeah.
that's old
Well,
advice, but just liability. I mean, it's a huge liability to be like, oh yeah, do whatever you want, and then bring your dog in,
yeah,
right? So like, I understand the perspective of like therapy dog groups being like, let's minimize the risk to the patients that we serve or the children that we serve
yeah.
as much as possible. So like, I understand that, but it's not really based on science, from
No.
my understanding.
So many laws and regulations like this are not based in science at all. And that's the really frustrating part because we have good science, right?
Yes.
And we know how to have how to actually look at science. And I was having this conversation with somebody the other day because it's so frustrating to me. I'm not a scientist in any way, but I have a degree in a science field. So I did learn a lot about science in my education. And like science is not an ideology, right? It is a system that we use. And we put out a hypothesis and then we test it in every way possible in an attempt to disprove that hypothesis. And if we cannot, then we can assume it is true.
Right.
That's not like people don't understand that.
Right.
And that is so frustrating to me, in case you can't tell.
Well, I mean, the reality is, if they allow freeze-dried raw and raw-coated kibble, but they don't allow raw, it's basically it's like silly.
Yeah.
It's just it's
Yeah.
they're six of one, half a dozen of the other. They're all, as
Right.
far as like contamination risk, they're all about the same. Which we don't really know about raw-coated kibble, but I'm going to assume it's about the same because you're
Yeah.
taking something that is already kibble is already tainted in many
Yeah.
ways, just because it does go rancid, just because of the huge manufacturing plants and whatever non-regulation goes into just creating this
Yeah.
garbage. And I feed kibble, so like no hate,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
facts are facts.
Yeah.
It's trash. It's garbage for the most
Yeah.
part, unless you're buying from a very small company that makes it, here in the US and sources everything super responsibly. Everything that goes into kibble, for the most part, with varying degrees, is garbage. But so we don't really have any control over how clean kibble is. We don't have any control over how clean, I can go to Whole Foods today and get chicken that's tainted with salmonella because there's no real control over anything like that. So it's really they're trying to control something that they really can't control. And I understand
Well, what's
I understand why it's done, the spirit
yeah.
with which it's done completely, but everything is a risk, and when it comes to feeding your pets, the biggest
Yeah.
thing I think we all choose is budget, right? So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's really, for me,
And
how I
is
choose
freeze
my
dried raw is
yes,
the most expensive pet food
it
type.
is. And that's why I, do kibble and freeze dried,
Yeah.
and I use green juju. I'm very happy to say that I know the formulator, I know the
Yeah.
owner, like I trust them implicitly. So if I'm gonna spend the money on something premium for my pets, I'm gonna do green juju because and there's a bunch of other brands that I would love to try, but they maybe are not as practical for me. Because there's a lot of great food brands out there that are small, that are creative, but they're making raw foods. They're making maybe poached foods. They're
Yeah.
making really, really gently cooked foods.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to Cynthia Elizabeth White, she wants to know
Yes.
what to feed her cats without feeding them canned foods. I mean, really, your budget is going to determine that.
Yeah.
But if money were no object, what would your answer be?
My answer?
Yes.
So cats are obligate carnivores, and they, even more so than dogs, are going to thrive on a raw food diet because they are obligate carnivores, meaning there are essential amino acids that they cannot make on their own. They have to get it from animal protein sources.
Yes.
Period. End of story.
Yep.
And so there are some really great brands that I love that I am happy to share if you want me to.
Well, I will say
Um,
that the green juju, I use the same one for my dog and my cat. It
oh,
is formulated for cats
yes,
specifically, and then because it's safe for cats, it just is automatically safe
is
for dogs
yes.
because dogs have more leeway in their,
Mm-hmm.
nutritional requirements. So it is
Yes.
great. If you can supplement with green juju, I like the beef. It's one of their more affordable freeze-dried proteins, which is why I choose it. There are other ones that are more premium
Mm-hmm.
proteins, but I love them, and I can say that my cat adores them. And I think that the only reason he does not leave when my cats let him out, when my kids let him out in the yard, is because of the green
Yeah.
juju. Because he knows that the green juju is here, and
Yeah.
whatever it is out there is not going to taste as good. So it
Yeah.
literally keeps my cat in the house and coming back for more. Luckily, my kids don't forget very often, but last weekend Mila left the door open 3 times. And we found, I don't think he knows he's a cat because he just stayed on the ground like my dog did.
Oh. No.
So he was just like sniffing the ground and looking at the birds, but we don't want him to figure it out by like climbing the tree and leaving us forever.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's a great brand, and I couldn't say better things about
Well,
anyone about it.
my cats that will eat green juju are more bougie apparently because they want the rabbit with the duck
Yeah,
liver.
and then there's duck liver, which
With
if
the
I were
duck
a cat,
liver.
that's what I would want.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that would be my
And then, but
choice. And then there's a
they don't.
pork one too, I think.
Yeah, there's in the freeze dried line. So fortunately, their frozen raw is hitting shelves now, right now, across the country, which is more economic, economical for people. But in their freeze dried, they have the beef, the pork, bison, and then the rabbit with duck liver. Then they also have the goat and the lamb. So they have a pretty big variety. Um, uh, but yes, so I love that. Please rehydrate it because cats need to get their water intake from their food. Period. End of story with that one as well. But yeah,
So
I
there is a
like.
response here. She says she buys applause, but she follows someone that said it's not good, and then Healthy Dog Workshop said she would be cautious with applause at this time
Yeah,
as canned cat food.
yeah.
If you're looking at canned, I think kiwi is it kiwi? No, tiki.
Uh,
Tiki. Tiki is
okay,
always very
chickens.
popular the with people who are in the know, who have maybe a lot of pets or a lot of cats, and they do foster and rescue, and they can't afford to go like really premium.
Yeah.
A lot of them try tiki. I don't know if that's something that Healthy Dog Workshop would endorse too. I mean, not endorse, but
Yeah.
recommend. That's something that a lot of people I know feed their cats.
You also have to be really careful with applause because they have both a complete and balanced line, and they have a lot that's not complete and balanced. And I have seen people feed for an extended period of time the ones that are not complete and balanced because they just don't know to read the label and like see that like there is a difference. And not that, for intermittent feeding, that's fine, but like to feed it over an extended period of time, depending on your animal, could be an issue. Um, But yeah, so I like if I'm just looking at raw for my cats, I like um I'm still gonna say small batch.
Yeah,
I
small batch is another one that I would love to use, but it's
I
not
would
as practical for me, but
mhm.
yes.
Right now I wouldn't do their freeze dried, but they're like frozen raw. Um, Viva Raw has a cat line that I really like. Lotus has raw that you can buy, and then gosh, we're of course green juju, and then
So I'm
I'm
writing
kind
them down.
of
Viva
thinking
Raw. What did you say? Small batch.
small batch. Um, what did I
And
say?
you said Lotus. Yeah,
Lotus,
Lotus.
and then maybe so Savage Cat still has synthetics in it, but my cats do well on it. So and cats are picky, picky,
Yeah.
picky, picky. So like just trying to solutions, solutions.
Solutions. I'll keep
If
typing
you can
whatever
get
you
it.
write. So in the comments, guys, I'm just jotting down the things. Um,
So the Kaz pack said, I wish we could do frozen raw, but our lifestyle doesn't allow for it.
exactly.
Carnivore is a hit here with the convenience too. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I mean, we do the best we can,
Yeah.
and especially if we can add some fresh foods to the carnivore, so we're getting real food,
Yeah.
whole food, as nature intended. So, like if we're
Yes.
talking about chicken, it's not a freeze dried chicken. It has all of the moisture that was intended to be eaten with that piece of chicken, right? Or anything else. Like even if we're thinking of a piece of spinach or
Yeah.
a sardine or an egg, like
Yeah.
leave it
Just
in
keep
its
it
whole food
simple.
form.
Yeah. Eggs,
Mm-hmm.
sardines, canned sardines
Yeah.
and water, whatever. One thing I will say is that the AI, the AI
The
says
AI.
that by raw coating kibble, we're adding a boost of digestible protein. What do you have to say about that? More digestible
So
because it's already been
inherently,
processed.
yeah, inherently, even a freeze dried raw is going to be more digestible than a kibble, in my opinion.
I mean, just the
However,
texture of it tells you that. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it doesn't take a rocket scientist. You could poke somebody's eye out with a piece of kibble.
yeah.
They're so hard.
But
And the
again, I don't know how they're making that food. I don't know what ingredients are going into that food. I don't know. Um,
so it's a lot of
there
assumptions,
are
basically.
a lot of assumptions that they haven't proven to me
Right.
as far as their product is concerned. Like, if we're looking at other freeze dried raw foods on the market, I would say yes, probably. But,
How
we could actually do digestibility
but how
studies if we
would
want to
that
prove it.
be? It's just a coating. It's just a coating.
Yeah,
Like it's just a coating. How much protein can actually be in that little bit of coating?
right.
I
It's
feel like
such a
it's
small amount.
fat. It's really fat.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's really some kind of fat. And there was a mention of palatability,
Yeah.
which is added, there's coatings added to dog foods and
Mm-hmm.
cat foods for that
Yes.
purpose. And yes, one of the pet sitters that commented on my post when I first shared this was like, I mean, I get that it might make it more enticing for picky eaters. So there might be a benefit in that sense, right? So, like, if you have a dog that's just not going to eat anything and this makes them eat it, hey, by all means, feed what you need to feed.
See,
I
I'm
will
still going to
say,
say no to that.
I
I'm
mean,
still going to say no to that.
you can also just top it off with
Yeah.
sardines or with egg
Well,
and see if they'll like that, better. And then it might actually be a lot cheaper than, because again, this is like a step between kibble and raw feeding.
and feeding a fresh food diet.
And so it's probably here,
Yeah.
but it's still going to cost you about this much
Yeah, yeah.
more, right?
Right.
So, like,
Yes.
where's the benefit really when you're paying so much more just to get your dog to eat this mediocre
Right.
food that's coated with something that you could just do that at home with, like, egg or
Yes.
sardines or
But the fact,
pumpkin or whatever it is that they like.
yeah. So if we have learned nothing else from this, the issue that we are currently seeing with kibble on the market right now today, that is a huge problem, where thousands of pet parents have reported that their dogs and cats are becoming sick and dying, allegedly from pet food. If we have learned nothing else from this, even though the FDA has not appropriately responded to it yet, it is to listen to your pets. And if you put something down and they don't want to eat it, there is a reason, especially our dogs. Okay, we can be a little bit more like, okay, with our cats, but with our dogs, like, we need to listen to them.
Yeah.
Especially if they ate it yesterday, you bought a new bag, and today they're saying no. Listen to them,
Yeah.
instead of just trying to throw stuff on it to make them eat it.
It is frustrating, yes.
Yeah,
We
I
actually
agree.
covered this pet food issue, one of our first lives
Yeah,
that we did. Like, it was
yeah.
probably, what, October maybe? I don't even know. Was it
No,
October? Was it that far
it
back?
wasn't.
It was early in the year.
It was probably February.
Okay, it was early in this year. Okay, so
Yeah,
there's no update because there's still no update. All the testing that it was done on the food samples came back kind of inconclusive. They were
yeah.
thinking, last I heard, they were thinking some kind of pesticide.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's changed. But if you want
Yeah.
to, an update, you go straight to Dr. Judy Morgan,
Hmm.
and she's the one who's kind of spearheading all of the research involved with these alleged cases
Yeah.
of tainted pet foods. But really, when it comes down to whether or not I would feed raw coated kibble, like, it's a matter of convenience. Okay, so it's convenient,
Yeah.
and budget. And I'm like, value for money, mostly, more so than budget, because I've blown my budget on my dogs and my cats'
Uh,
food ages ago. So, like,
yeah.
budget, I blew
Yeah.
that budget ages ago. But for the value is just not there for me. Like, from what I can see, it's not there for me. Because my dog and cat don't need something that's more palatable when I can give them something that they truly love, which is the green juju. And I chose green juju because it's safe for both. Because again, that's part of my buying factor. My value is
Hmm.
convenience. So as a mom of two young kids who works full time, husband's in the military, like, I'm not trying to, like, cook for everybody and the pets. Like, that's not going to happen. It's just not. I barely eat,
Yeah. Right.
myself. I'd be so
Yes.
tired of cooking. So I don't see the benefit for me. I don't really see the benefit other than it validating that consumers are being heard,
Yeah.
that consumers want fresher foods.
Yep.
And like you said, I do think that it will normalize raw feeding more than
Hmm.
it has thus
Yeah.
far. I
Yes.
haven't, other than the holistic veterinarian, I haven't seen any vets talk about this. So, like, I would love to hear the vets that were completely anti-raw
Right.
discuss
Yeah.
this and why they think this is better. Because if they think it's better, maybe it's because it's just like another process option that really isn't doing all the
Yeah.
things that it
Well, that's the
says it's going
thing.
to do.
So, AFCO, who is not a regulatory body, they write regulation. The states adopt it. Most states adopt it pretty much as is. Say that they have a zero tolerance for pathogenic bacteria in food, pet food. What that translates to is, in my opinion, a lot of bullying to small fresh food, especially raw food
Yeah.
companies. So when we look at, okay, you have a zero tolerance for pathogenic bacteria. So there has to be some sort of kill step. Companies go about this in different ways. Some of them use HPP. Some of them will, like solutions, will use fermentation. Those aren't the only kill steps, but that's, what we can talk about. The kibble companies, what are they doing to their freeze-dried raw for their kill step, and how is the regulation going to affect
I'm
them?
I'm sure it's why we're not seeing it yet with Purina
Yeah,
and all these bigger brands, because that's probably a hurdle for them
yeah,
to adopt this. But the more popular it becomes, the more I feel, the more like bastardized it'll be, right? So
yes,
like it'll be like initially somebody came up with this idea with the best of intentions. Again, I always
right,
give people the benefit of the
yes,
doubt, and then it just gets bastardized as it,
right,
becomes mainstream and everybody starts to adopt it, but then they have to like meet these regulations that aren't really regulations, and like
yeah,
convince veterinarians to back it, which the veterinary field is actually the one that I think is going to be hardest to convince. I think
yeah,
consumers are pretty easy to convince, but the
hmm,
veterinarians have really been like taught that raw is so dangerous. It's the same reason why therapy dog groups don't allow raw feeding, because it's really been like kind of like demonized for so long. So now that we're gonna go to the other side, and we're gonna just like go to another extreme where it's like now
right,
everything's freeze dried raw, and then
right,
really like it like dilutes
yeah,
the meaning of
it
everything.
really does. But again, like it is such a small amount percentage wise of the food that is in that bag. I am so much more concerned with how that small of a percent, like you are paying such a premium for such a small percentage of that food to be this freeze dried raw product. And it is nowhere near the percentage it would need to be to outweigh the negative qualities of the kibble, especially like not just the quality, which we've talked about, but also the effects of high heat processing, the AGEs, the advanced glycation end products. These are chemical reactions to um, these are chemical reactions to the proteins, to the amino acids in the proteins that are known to cause a lot of negative health effects in our animals. So um, they're irreversible. You can't undo it.
Yes.
And they have been known, they accumulate in the body, they have negative effects. They are linked to chronic diseases. I actually pulled this up to find out exactly what they're linked to: diabetes, cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's, which we know our dogs are experiencing. It's canine cognitive dysfunction, kidney disease, and atherosclerosis. So there are so it's not just okay, so it's the high heat processing of the proteins, the amino acids in the proteins, when sugars are also present.
Right.
And because the kibble is inherently so high in starchy carbohydrates, there are your
Yes.
sugars coming from the even though you look at the bag and you don't see sugar listed,
Right.
that's where your sugars are coming from, and you can't get around it. So you are paying such a high premium for this teeny tiny little bit of freeze dried raw that is in no way like um, a great enough
Right.
percentage of the food to make any
So the
difference in.
cost benefit's just not
No,
there. It's just not
no,
there.
no,
And
no.
until we know more, I feel like that's what I would say, like too. Like I mean, no, there was nobody could explain from the packaging that I read, like how this was really made, how what was really there.
Yeah,
Like it wasn't really detailed. So unless we were to like maybe at Super Zoo run into somebody who's offering this and can actually speak intelligently on it, like I feel like everybody's more in the dark about what it really entails than not, and then still paying out of pocket for something you don't understand doesn't make a lot of sense.
no. And I mean, maybe we could talk to Stella and Chewy's about it, but even them, like, they, I hate to say this, but it's the reality.
Yeah.
I don't know what all changes they have made since contracting with, I don't remember if it's Petco or PetSmart. I don't remember. But I also know that they are on the list
Yep.
for, if you check Dr. Judy Morgan's
Yeah.
socials. So And I know we gotta end a little early, so
I
we're
do have to
there.
go. Yes, we are here. Thank you guys for joining. I am recording my show today because I was sick 2 Fridays ago and I had to reschedule, so we're doing that today. I'm finally feeling better. Thank God. It was 2 weeks, 2 weeks of a cold that was not had no name because I went to urgent care to get tested for everything. It had no
Yeah.
name, but it kicked my butt, and I'm just so happy that I'm on the other side of that. Hopefully,
Yes.
not to get sick again for a while. I haven't been sick for a while, but this one kicked my butt. So thank you guys for joining us. I'm sorry those who just joined.
Yes. I
We are wrapping
know.
up today, but you
Mhm.
can catch obviously the replay both on the Pet Parenting Reset and on Covered in Pet Hair. And if you
Yes.
don't follow one of us, please follow us. And stay tuned for next week. If you have a topic that you want us to cover, just let us know, message us,
Yeah.
or comment below, and we shall get to it. So
Yeah.
thanks again for joining us for these awesome chats, and we'll see you
All right.
soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.